60 seconds, gents.
You using the whole piston? Captain's log.
I'm telling you straight. It's my way or the highway. So anybody wants to walk, do it now.
I know words. I have the best words.
I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges.
Ten seconds.
Yes.
All right, we're jumping in right away because we're 10 seconds away from live air. Hi, everybody at home. Hello, chat room, and everybody. We'll be with you in just 1 second. Hit that like, share the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide, now available in podcast form, the Hal Sparks podcast Mega Worldwide, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, now with 100% more, Johnny Million. How are you, Johnny Million, this fine day?
Hello. Hi.
Is that your smart voice?
Somebody's tuning in the first time.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Oh my God.
Something else.
I can barely understand him. It's hard to articulate when you're wearing a zipper hood. Hey, if you're going to paint a picture of yourself, I'm glad to fill in the finer details. If you want to paint by numbers, we should create some sort of illusion of what Johnny Million is for the new listeners, because we have a lot of them. I will say, if I don't mind patting myself on the back again, this is obviously Johnny Million. We are winding down. We're winding. It's a wind down. We're winding. Where is it? I think I have it here, yeah. We are a show in decline. This is the end. Everything is terrible. America is on fire and you can't go outside without somebody setting you on fire while they sexual assault you and stab you and run over you with a car at the same time. We also have things are too expensive. Golf fees are through the roof. These are the end times. All right. So that's, for those of you who don't know, that's the Missions song from the QAnons that Trump plays at the end of a bunch of his rallies when he's doing his little nation in decline thing. And what I want to say that in all seriousness, I think Donald Trump is playing the soundtrack of his own demise. He is aware he's going to lose, and he's DJing his own funeral politically. And
he really has to know he's going to lose, right? He
totally knows. I mean, listen to how he talks to Sean Hannity this week, saying, this is the end of. We've been doing this for 9 years, and we're almost at the end of it. And they sometimes play it off that he says that it's the end of candidate Trump, and now, since he can't run again, well, we also know that if he had his way, if he actually thought he was winning, he would stay in forever. If this was...
Oh, yeah, he's Emperor Trump.
Yeah, if he'd won 15 years ago when he was a younger man, he would do everything he could. Now, quite frankly, judging from what he's saying and playing at his rallies, he's over it. He's very much over it. He had beyond Ave Maria, which which is now the soundtrack of maggot collapse. Whenever a maggot keels over at one of his rallies and needs medical attention, he plays Ave Maria, which is not
He
for
gets
that
really mad at them too.
at the person for keeling over.
Yeah, and anybody else want to faint? Yeah?
Right, yeah. He also, beyond that, I mean, it's obviously hilarious, and he doesn't play that song for them. It's not like Ave Maria has a history of like somebody told him it's got magical healing properties. It's he's obviously not playing the theme song to Adam 12 or the old Emergency show. Yeah, I went way back. I'm trying to get something that was
Have
the last.
you tried to rewatch Emergency? Like on one of those like MeTV?
No.
Oh, it does not hold up.
No?
Yeah. It's one of the worst ones yet.
Oh, no.
That $6 Million Man holds up better.
Oh, that's not saying a lot. That's amazing.
No.
Well, that had an element of fantasy, and this is supposed to be reality. So that's always an issue. You know what I mean? It will shock people to find out that Magnum PI is a show about a psychic detective, not just a detective. And rewatch it with that comment in his little voice, and you totally understand. But they took out the part about him being made psychic by an explosion in Vietnam, and because the Christians didn't like it because it was seen as witchcraft, and the show makes a lot more sense. But because he has dreams that come true, and his little voice is always telling him stuff.
Really?
And yeah.
I never watched an episode. I just longingly looked at pictures of him in shorts.
Understood. Yeah. Because you're the same height, and you wish you could wear those same shorts without exposing yourself.
Oh boy, he fills out them shorts.
He's just one of those guys where like I never grow a mustache because I feel like if I ever grew one and then shaved it, people would go, "What happened to your face?"
Why bother? Yeah,
Right.
seriously.
Yeah.
It's like with Yngwie. Why pick up a guitar? Tom
Right.
Selleck has already grown a mustache. Nobody else needs to.
Oh, my fear was that he looks weird without it.
Oh, he really does.
Yeah, and if you take
Face
you
looks
take it,
giant.
yeah, it makes no sense.
Have you ever met somebody that you just think immediately they're missing their mustache?
Sure.
Yeah.
Dude who played on Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
Always. Ron Perlman, that's right. I didn't want to kind of name drop him. He might show up tonight at Sexy Liberal LA.
With a
That's tonight.
mustache.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is abundant. Let me make this abundantly clear to everyone. When Donald Trump plays Ave Maria for somebody who passes out at one of his events, see how I did the weave and I brought it back?
Nice.
Thanks.
Some people say they like the weave.
Some people lose me mid-weave and don't realize I'm weaving. Never expect me to come back. But he plays Time to Say Goodbye, which is the song from the Catalina wine mixer in Step Brothers that makes me laugh. And every time he does it, I hear a voice going, "Boats and Hoes."
Boats and Hoes!
Because of
Didn't somebody grab
John C.
that as
Reilly.
a promo from us?
I
on
think,
CP3?
yes, they did. And the reason, sometimes you have realizations about, little media references later, Fletch is left in Fletch 2, he gets left a plantation in the South by his dead aunt, who he decides to give up, move down there, and it's covered in toxic waste because somebody's been using it as a dumping site. And the place is called Belle Isle. And Belle Isle is one of the Beelzebub adjacent demons in Paradise Lost.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Right, yeah. But it also, Belle Isle is a great name for a French plantation name in the South in that period of time. Those kind of things come up. And so when Donald Trump plays Time to Say Goodbye, I gotta say there's two things that are happening there. One is he knows he's gonna lose. And the other thing he knows is it's time to say goodbye to the front row Joes. Goodbye, weirdos. Goodbye, people that he will never allow in his properties and on his golf courses. Goodbye, weird guy in the wall suit. Goodbye, weird ladies that follow him all around with stars in their eyes, who are like Elvis's fans at the, in the late stage of his career, where when they were young they used to throw their panties on the stage and they were of reasonable size, and then as he got older it looked like D-Day. Goodbye.
All the parachutes.
Yes, right. Goodbye. Goodbye. The variant lunatics who dress as Abraham Lincoln or the Statue of Liberty. Goodbye, people covered in MAGA stickers and hats who carry a golden statue of him in their lap, so that one day they'll be able to get him to touch it for them, so that it will fit into their shrine at home. He never, after he loses, has to see these people ever again, unless one of them ends up in jail and they end up as a cellmate, which the Lord works in mysterious ways, and I wouldn't be surprised. But Time to Say Goodbye, that song, is your primary. That if you want to know what Trump's internal polling says, that'll tell you.
Yeah.
And I will be doing a 24-hour live stream on Election Day, starting at a little before noon, because I believe Stephanie Miller is going to come on, but she goes to sleep early in the day because she gets up in the morning to do her show. So I'm going to try and have her on at like 11:30, I think, is when we're going to get her on. So I'll be on a little bit before that, but I'm going to stream all night long, and watch and hold your guys' hand through the election. Because it's going to be good,
Did you know
kids.
that's Richard Marx singing those all nights?
Yes, he was a background singer on that stuff. Yeah.
All night.
Mm-hmm. It makes total sense. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's Johnny Million, and he's got a Twitch show and a YouTube show at the same time. So you can have two browser windows open at once when you watch it. Check it out.
People do.
I've heard that. We'll be back right after this. We are a commercial break in decline. All right. Sorry, I just threw that in there.
So many super chats. It's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. And my goodness. Hold on. I have to open up the chat window thing on here so I can see what's there. Sometimes I'm so busy working.
Vickery,
comments and reaction. There it is.
Blank, Raymond.
Oh my gosh.
Memberships being bought.
Oh, Hal Vickery, thank you so much. Only 5 days to know, and I'm curiously, he says he's cautiously optimistic, which is the most optimistic he ever gets. I appreciate that. I understand. Tamal has a straight up super chat, just 666. Thank you for the 6666 super chat. Colonel Klink, it is the end, and Trump is blowing it. Yes, he is. He certainly is. We watched him do it to his mic stand. It's. I'm so glad we're on radio and we can't share that. And for those that didn't see it, I will. Yeah.
Did you see? I haven't seen this ad. I've only heard people talking about it. Kamala's run an ad about
Slayer Chick.
women,
Thank you.
Sorry.
I'm saying thank you to people while you're talking. Go ahead.
Oh, they're running an ad where women are going into the voting booth and not voting Trump like their husbands.
And winking at each other, yeah. Yes. Raymond, thank you so much.
Badass.
Yes, it is. And it freaked out Jesse Waters this week. He was like, fuck.
Oh, yeah, he said it's like having an affair.
Yeah.
Against it, and of course his wife is somebody that he met because he had an affair with her.
That's right. So we're coming back. We're talking about how Jesse Waters is very upset about the women voting for other women, wink and a nod. They vote for who they want and then tell their husband they vote for Trump. I guess to avoid physical repercussions or just the aggravation, or quite frankly, just to be able to exercise their right as an American, as an autonomous human being without the permission of their husband. Seems pretty normal, as you would. But we were also discussing, God help us, that Donald Trump is having at his rallies, not only is he tired of doing them, but he is, and I have a bit of sad news I want to share in a moment. But not only is Trump tired of doing them, he knows it's over, and it's almost like it can't end fast enough. And
Agreed.
I do have a before we get back to the mirth that the woman I will mention would love us to get back to, and I'm not talking about Terry Garr because we have to do a whole show about her after this election is over. Janie Godley has passed away. Janie Godley was in hospice care. She's a Scottish comedian woman who famously held up the Trump is a C word as his motorcade went by in Scotland. You'll recall her. Her daughter has just put a message on this morning or early this morning.
53.
Yeah, she was in hospice care for the last. They knew it was a matter of time.
Yeah.
She's been in it for a couple of months now, a few months, and they said earlier this morning Janie passed away in her sleep. Her family were with her. The love and support from all her friends and fans during this cancer journey brought us enormous joy. It's also been a huge comfort to us, the family and close friends. Thank you. And she was, obviously her daughter is hit very hard by this. And Janie Godley was a bold and funny woman, but also the fact that she will always have that iconic picture of her greeting his motorcade in Scotland in a very Scottish way. So,
oh,
yeah.
I just found it.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, Trump is a C. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, she's high-fiving some police people.
Oh, yeah. She was, like...
2018.
Mm-hmm.
Who hates Trump more than Scotland?
Well, his mother is from there. And so it's his reason to keep coming back and buying property there. And they hate him for it. Plus,
go home, you big orange jobby.
She was so funny, and so she'd been in hospice care for a while, and she passed away last night. So our time. So, anyways, goodbye, Janie. We love you, and you
well
were
done, Janie.
Yeah, well done, Janie. You were a godly woman, and we appreciate the effort.
And you can get a T-shirt now that says Trump is still a C.
Yes, to support the family and to keep her memory alive. So
yeah, exactly.
So thank you, Janie Godley, for being all of us a couple of times. I just wanted to bring that up. Now back to the stuff that Janie would like us to be talking about, namely that Trump yesterday in his absolute collapsing garbage rallies that are dwindling in in crowd size. People last night, even with the entertainment of his mic failing and him telling people not to pay your bills, the Drudge Report headline this morning is blowing it. Trump simulates oral sex on stage.
Wait, whose headline is this?
That's Drudge. That's the Drudge Report.
Drudge?
Yes, that's not the...
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's not the Onion. That's not, the name of one of my live streams, although because I would go much farther. Yeah. The Drudge Report carried the Republican Party digitally for the better part of a decade.
At least. I remember looking at the Drudge Report in the 90s.
Right. Well, and it hasn't, but it was always part of the support structure. But the big, when the Republicans were more normal, you had the Wall Street Journal and Fox News and everybody, supporting them, whatever. And then you had a bunch of online publications or the digital versions of those things carrying them. But over time, as they got more Tea Party-ish and then into the MAGA world, that number dwindled until the Trump cult came around. And there was a real fall off in support for that. And it's one of the reasons Romney lost. It started many ways with Drudge's sort of like begrudging support of Sarah Palin and carrying water for the fact that McCain added her to the ticket, which was a mistake. And he viewed it as such, but it was like, okay, but we're trying to do the right thing.
It really was the beginning of the weird cult of personality.
It absolutely was. Well, because it requires you to actively participate in cognitive dissonance. You have to pretend that she's not a lunatic who doesn't read, is completely incapable of doing the job, and wasn't just hired for her
reads all
looks.
of them.
Yeah, right. All of them. Katie.
Katie.
So, in all honesty, though, there are some politicians, it takes a little bit of work to like them. You know what I mean? For some people, not for me, but for some people, it was Joe Biden, right? Because he's going to be a gaffe machine and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Certainly, okay, we might have a mild dispute in that I think George W. Bush, the dumb son, and the fact that he was puppeteered by Cheney was in many ways the beginning of this. Because
True.
Republicans in many ways had to go, well, his dad's a good man, and Cheney will be there to actually concoct policy and drive the bus. So they held their nose for George W. Bush, and then 9/11 in Iraq happened, and you can't change a boat midstream. You can't change canoes midstream. So we'll just stick with him until this is over, or he's over by 8 years, right? Until we have no other choice. And so, they had to trick themselves into behaving, or believing that that George W. Bush was a qualified candidate, and he absolutely wasn't. I mean, he was the birth of my joke, and before George W. Bush, it was like, this is America where anyone can be president, and it became, this is America where I guess anybody can be president, it's like no standard. And so in many ways that started, and it really did tip with the idea that we're going to place, for all the, Illuminati background, there's a controlling, Democratic machine behind the scenes running everything. On the Republican side, there was this sort of belief that, there's a machine running the thing. They're putting Sarah Palin in to be the young woman behind McCain, and even though they genuinely thought she was too stupid to actually run anything, the idea was, well, he's old. We don't like the fact that he's a maverick and works with the other side. So he kicks off while she's there. She'll do all the Tea Party stuff because the Heritage Foundation will give her marching orders, her own version of Project 2025. That's clearly what the plan was. And it was also the plan with Donald Trump. The difference was he was a man and a businessman. And so he was able to borrow a bunch of independent voters, and they had spent 20 years making Hillary Clinton unpalatable to a large group of people because she dared, while her husband was president, to champion children's poverty and insurance. And that was the crime that Hillary Clinton committed, where they're like, this woman has a future and actually cares about government serving the people that elect her. We've got to put a metaphorical target on her back. And they did. And without that, had she been a relative unknown in the same way that Harris is, if they didn't have 20 years to destroy her reputation, Hillary Clinton on her own, had her husband just been the governor of Arkansas and she'd ended up being a senator from New York because they both moved there absent his presidency, she very well could have beat him. Because it was a perfect storm that Donald Trump counted on. He lost by 3 million votes. The second time he ran, he lost by 8 million votes. This time he's probably going to lose by 6. If the turnout on his side doesn't drop off a cliff, which I have said, I think the big thing to watch for is not so much the number of early voters, which I think are almost entirely indicative of women voters and the men who love them wanting to guarantee that Donald Trump, an adjudicated rapist, is not in charge of women's rights in this country, and that women cease to be second-class citizens because we're able to have a House and a Senate that codifies Roe into law. But I think there's going to be a big drop-off in Republican turnout on Tuesday. People who just can't bring themselves to vote for Harris, but are like, this is the election they blow off. This is their election from the 90s. This is their election, this is their 2004, where they just kind of don't show. Or in many ways, 2008, where there was there were a lot of what they called, Obama Republicans, certainly, but there were also a lot of Republicans that just did not vote. And it's what, there's that slice of people in certain states is in the Electoral College is what gave Donald Trump the presidency, because there were a bunch of faux-gressives, fake regressive people alleging themselves to be on the left, who believe that the goals that they want politically can only happen on the rubble of total destruction, and that they themselves feel safe enough to ride it out, like Elon Musk has been saying about how the economy's got to be wrecked so we can restart it again on a more solid footing. He's got billions. He will never feel it at all. And so, poor people just have to suck it up and die, in the same way that, if the ACA doesn't give you everything, it shouldn't give you anything. That's the Susan Sarandon way. This is the economic version of that with Elon Musk. Those people are gone this time around. The lesson has largely been learned, except on the Republican side, which is I have no interest. We gotta let the Republican Party burn so that we can rebuild it again on its ashes. And the only way that happens is if Donald Trump and all of his support structure go, and they can blame it on him, and it's no question. I think that's a big story that starts happening on Tuesday, where people don't show up at the polls. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. Mm-hmm.
I did see a lady at early voting wearing a pink Make America Great Again hat with a child. I was like, wow, you hate yourself and your kid.
No, she doesn't. She's probably a religious trad wife who wants her own Christian version of Sharia, effectively. Gives, And I'll tell you what, if our side of the aisle embraced stay-at-home moms the way we embrace stay-at-home dads again, just allow for it, without castigation.
Buddha and the Eagle has posed the question with a giant super chat.
Oh my goodness, I don't see it on the. Oh goodness, there it is. Good morning, Hal. I want to thank you for all your positivity. I love you, and you're one of my favorite people. However, you are 99-100 on your predictions, and the one you missed was the biggest one. Can you and Johnny, anyone else name what it is? Oh, whether Trump was going to run? Because I said he wasn't going to run.
Yeah, you said he wouldn't run at all.
That had to do with the indictments. He got a notice of impending indictment, and that's why he decided to run. The initial run, and that's the only reason he did it. The question was the timing of it. Was Merrick Garland actually going to indict him, and when? And had he done it later, the chances are Trump wouldn't have, because the machine if it had been a normal cycle, he did it a full year early. That's why he ran a full year early. So he's absolutely right on that. Totally cop to that. But I will say that is why. That's that's the main reason. Mm-hmm. Yep.
20 seconds, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ev.
I will argue that ultimately this run was never, he doesn't want to be president any more than he did last time, and he's really running to stay out of jail and pardon himself more than anything, and he wants to phone it in. That's where Project 2025 came from. And had he had another choice and been the godfather of the Republican Party, he'd have taken it. The Donald Trump is under the impression, and our dear friend Buddha and the Eagle pointed this out, that I've been 99 out of 100 on my predictions, and the one I was wrong on was Donald Trump not running again, because I don't think he was planning to. I think he hated the job, and hated the idea that he could lose again, and then ultimately he did, and then he ran when he ran for re-election. But when he ran again this time, it was because he got a notice of indictment. A pending indictment, because he's got Secret Service protection, because he's a former president, because he is wealthy, and because he has an army of lawyers. He gets notifications like this where other people would not. A serial killer does not get a notice of pending indictment, but a white collar criminal does.
And get the 3 a.m. knock.
Yes, exactly. You could argue that Rudy Giuliani did not. but Donald Trump did. And a lot of it had to do with
Rudy Giuliani. I love that they got to his house so super early.
Right.
It's such a mess right now.
And Johnny, your camera has frozen, and I'm not quite sure why,
no.
but
It's probably me. Hang on, I'm going to try to reset it here.
Okay. In the that notice of pending indictment, basically everyone around him said, you know, the only chance you have is if you can blame this on the fact that you're running, and so they decided to run. Had it played out and been a year later, he would have just said, because I'm, you know, a former president, and used the same argument, but not that he was running to do it. He would have still had rallies, but he would have, you know, it would have been kiss the ring. So that's my theory on him running. I still think ultimately he doesn't want it. There you are. Now you're moving again.
Sorry about that. Yeah, this one seems to freeze more often.
Well, it's a more of a photography camera, so it just wants your beautiful frozen face.
At least you have like a really bad frozen face.
Buddha and Eagle, thank you, and see you tonight. Excellent.
He did it twice.
Yes, he did. He's going to be at Sexy Liberal tonight, so that's really awesome. So yes, my theory is, and by the way, Boston Brian will be joining us in the second hour because Philip Bittner is traveling. He is coming down to go to Sexy Liberal this evening, so he will be here as well, along with Tara Dublin Rocks, who will be backstage running a sort of backstage live stream, I believe using my rig. So I'm going to have to bring all my stuff from the radio show.
Nice rig, Hal.
Thanks. Yeah, people often say that. So we shall, obviously, we shall see, there have been a lot of things that I've said about Donald Trump over the last little bit, and I think the one I'm proudest of, and I will modify it for radio so that it is sayable, is that never underestimate Donald Trump's ability to screw up a free lunch. That if he is given any type of an advantage on any circumstance or anyone else, he will mess it up. He will blow it. And one of the greatest examples in many ways is his situation where he chose J.D. Vance as an act of ego. Like he just thought, I'm gonna say, after somebody took a shot at me and everybody's trying to talk, Biden down out of this thing, I'm gonna pick a dude that's 100. We're gonna go 100% MAGA. We're gonna coast into this because I've already got those mid and independent ones. They're not gonna vote for Biden because he's too old or whatever their reasoning was, because he got hit by the Havana Ray at the final debate, and the Democrats are just done. And there were a bunch of people. I was not one of them. There were a bunch of people clamoring about the fact. And by the way, it was always within the margin of error with the Democrats leading. It still is. Biden arguably would be in the same position with Harris in his second, with the idea that she would become president. And then the big talk would be who she would make vice president if something happened to Biden because he's older. The margin wouldn't be that different from what it is right now. That said, Donald Trump could have, in many ways, look at COVID. Donald Trump could have succeeded under COVID and had the same material failures, same death rate, same collapse of the economy, same failures of Operation Warp Speed, all that kind of stuff. If he had just packaged it as, I'm the perfect guy to be your shepherd through this terrible time, instead of saying it's all going to be over quickly. It's all going to be over quickly. It's going to be fixed so quickly. It's going to be done so quickly because, and I think this has to do with his personality and his inability, I think, emotionally to deal with the fact that he doesn't understand the complexity of the problem, and it scares him. So he just wants just spackle it shut. I don't care. Just get it over with. Hide it from, I don't want to see it. In the same way he doesn't like seeing injured vets. In the same way, after there were 96 dignified transfers during his presidency of dead soldiers and personnel, and he went to 4 of them, and then after one parent got mad at him, he stopped going. He missed 92 of them, and Pence went to the rest. Insofar as I know, he didn't. Yeah, I don't know if even Pence went to all of them, but he went to the only ones for the rest of the time because he didn't like the comfort. He didn't want to see it. He wanted to go and be congratulated. He wanted to be seen as a hero, but he did not want to take the responsibility part is exhausting, aggravating. And that's for the same reason he doesn't want the presidency. And in some ways, could you point back, will there be an autopsy of this ridiculousness where people look back and see that he was sabotaging himself on purpose? Maybe. Does he have the mental depth to understand that he's sabotaging himself? Probably not. He's a self-involved, ignorant narcissist. He's got narcissistic personality disorder. I will clarify. I don't believe he's a true narcissist. I think he hates his own reflection. I think he has low self-esteem, as opposed to exaggerated high self-esteem, which would be the disorder. So that said, last night, his microphone went out. It's just yet another example. His microphone went out, and he was talking into the one on the stand. And Johnny, you've seen this, correct? You've seen this.
Yeah.
And he's clearly simulating fellatio on this microphone. It's while he's got another microphone in his left hand.
Yep.
Because he's trying to get that one working. And considering his dance that he constantly does, and the myriad of references made about the phallic nature of his hand movements in that situation, and the animations that people have put online replacing the microphone with something untoward, as it were. And he's done it repeated. There's several versions of this. It's only a matter of time before they do the other microphone as well.
Yeah.
And we're 2 days.
One on each side. Yeah.
We're 2 days from the election. We are 2 days away from the day, the election. So again, this won't. And the funny thing is that one of the things Donald Trump does to try and get himself out of bad situations like this, when something embarrassing happens or goes wrong, he tries to outshock everyone.
Right.
If something,
he dials up the super offensive.
Right, exactly. So this hand gesture thing, or mouth gesture, Jesus, that he's saying, in many ways swamped it in some circles, and it depends on. I guess the news can't show that, on the air. They're not going to show what's wrong with that on. So what they're focusing on is him saying, "I'm going to take care of women's health, whether they like it or not." Right? And
that's worth repeating, whether they like it or not.
Yes. That in and of itself is one of the most that's the most egregious version of exactly people's problem with his approach to women's health. Is his ego and his patriarchal BS about wanting to control women's bodies. That's exactly the problem. And on top of that, the Access Hollywood tape, where he feels like he can grab women's bodies without their consent. I mean, this is a man who does not believe women have the right to consent to anything, and that they are subservient. It is no wonder that the main thing that came from his presidency, if there's a single lasting legacy of Donald Trump, it is that for a period of time, we will not know how long until the House or the Senate can pass a codification of Roe, women in the United States are second-class citizens. Johnny, you and I do not have to pick what rights we want to have by what state we want to live in. We don't have to go, I can't move to Texas.
Absolutely no law like that.
None whatsoever for a man. But women currently, if they get a job offer or they are going to get transferred in the military, they will have to request a different transfer or an alternate site, because if they get pregnant and, God forbid, have a problem with their pregnancy or decide in the first place not to remain pregnant for any myriad of reasons, among them sexual assault and incest, I would suppose, they will not have the same rights to health care and the safety of seeking that health care that a man would about anything else that could happen to him.
Right.
That is right now the only lasting legacy. His tax cuts will come and go. They will be on the pile of other tax cuts throughout history, and it is by no means the biggest, no matter what he says. So this is the only thing that came out of the Trump presidency with any legs whatsoever that will last and continue on in any way will be the decomposing of women's rights in this country. It's the only thing. Think of another thing. He stayed in Afghanistan. He didn't get us out. He didn't. The idea that he ended the ISIS caliphate and sacrificed the Kurds in the process and gave Syrian bases to Russia that are being used by Iran to give weapons to Hezbollah right now. Not exactly.
He dismantled pandemic response. I'll remember him for that.
That's right. Well, I mean, his awful handling of that. But I got to tell you, if he'd have had those people in place, he'd have run interference for him. He still had Fauci. He still had Birx. He still had a team there, and he insisted on micromanaging it anyways to cut away. I mean, obviously, the damage done by the people the extraneous deaths caused by his ineptitude, that would be another one. Absolutely. But that's almost singular to any inept president, any moron we had in the White House that didn't know what they were doing or were doing their own research. Or, I mean, he would obviously do it again with RFK Jr. I mean, can you imagine the coming measles and polio epidemic that's going to come?
For real.
If you think COVID shut down the world, wait till America becomes the hot zone. Because that's what will happen under RFK Jr. Because and let me state this. We got to take a break, but let me state this as clearly as I can. This is not just in isolation their distrust of science, because there's a version of science they absolutely trust, and that is genetics. They believe in the power of genes. And RFK Jr. and Donald Trump, one of the biggest things they share is superior genetics. They believe.
Don't you think it all comes back to the genes?
Yes, they do. And they believe that people who can catch measles and die, or get polio like Mitch McConnell, should have just died in the first place. We're busy. We're saving too many people. I mean, I'm not kidding. This is something Trump clearly believes. This is something RFK Jr. clearly believes in his whole conversation about the Ashkenazi Jews and the Chinese, that these are crafted diseases that they are somehow immune to, which they are absolutely not. But this is his belief system. As nutty as it is, what they believe is that, part of the problem is stopping these diseases. Part of the problem is trying to cure them. We should just let them kill the people they can kill, and then only the superior will survive. That's probably the scariest aspect of RFK Jr. being added, not the least of which is that we would have 9 COVID epidemics that would start in the United States if he was anywhere near the health system in the United States. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Infotainmentwars.com is the website. Subscribe today to the YouTube, and patreon.com/Hal Sparks helps keep us on the air. And thank you for the super chats. You guys, you're wonderful. Thank you for your support. We'll be back. Yeah.
There's a woman that can barely walk up the stairs ahead of us at the early voting who was very upset that you didn't need an ID to vote. I had to jump in and say, you haven't needed an ID to vote yet. They look you up.
Yeah.
Because anybody can vote. It makes you feel a lot better, dude.
No, they can't. Did you see the Tucker Carlson thing, by the way? The thing about him being sexually assaulted by a demon, allegedly.
Oh, no.
He told a story. Yeah, he told a story in this Christianities movie, which is just, talk about like.
Oh, neat. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and apparently he had a couple of years ago he told Alex Jones the same story And so Alex Jones is driving around a car because apparently he works for Uber Eats now. I do InfoWars from my dash cam. And he had told him the same story and that something similar had happened. And I was trying to make clear to everyone yesterday that those were wounds he got on his sides and his shoulder that look a lot like a grown man holding him from behind with one hand on his shoulder. He got those marks from a demon in his own bed and not at a truck stop.
Back in 5.
Thank you. While his wife was knocked out on Xanax and Ambien. Not at all.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
The world of MAGA and the world of Trump gets stranger and stranger by the day. Those who regularly watch the live stream know that I covered Tucker Carlson apparently opening up about being sexually assaulted by a demon in his sleep. A story he told to Alex Jones, who apparently has a similar experience. And you will have to go back and watch my live streams if you want to see those stories, because they, quite frankly, I cannot talk about the details on the radio, largely because, one, I'm laughing far too hard, but also it's horrifically absurd. Now, what's really happening there? What is this? Again, I always look for the indicators in these things. And while our dear friend Buddha and the Eagle is right, I have been wrong all of one time. I'm telling you, Trump's going to lose again this time, and he sure is. And one of the other indicators that I know, how I know this is happening, besides him playing Time to Say Goodbye at his actual events, is what the other people around him are focusing on. Because the media support structure, Glenn Beck, Tucker Carlson, Russell Brand, that crowd, who are in the business of carrying water for Donald Trump and have been for quite some time, are all of a sudden finding Jesus and turning into little mini mega church channels. They're shifting to the prepper end times religious person.
Bastion.
Yep, it's like it's where rock stars and country artists who can't sell anymore go put out a Christian record. It's exactly it. And the way they know is because they can see the dwindling sales. They can tell. They know, and they can see the crowds getting smaller. They can see people leaving. They can see that and what you seek out is an audience that feels like they have to go even if it sucks. Even if it's terrible, they got to go to the show because Jesus is watching. And what if I don't go and see him? And he was right there. And now Jesus is mad for me not voting with my dollar in this situation. And that's what...
That would be embarrassing.
It's what Swaggart ran on for years. It's what Jim Baker ran on for years. It's what gave Kenneth Copeland 2 airplanes. And if you'll recall that one woman, the female reporter, interviewing Kenneth Copeland at one point, there's sick people in the world. Why do you need 2 airplanes? And he just mocks her right to her face. If you've ever seen that video, it's pretty gnarly. He's also the guy who laughed maniacally at the idea that Joe Biden was legally elected and the like, and that he told everybody, as did everybody on his channel, including Lanny Walnuts and Hank the Skank Kuhneman and Gene the Jesus Machine, all of his hosts on Flashpoint. These are my names for them, for the record. He's not official.
I was rolling with you through Walnuts. I'm like, okay, his name Walnuts. All right.
Lance Wallnow is this guy, and he's one of these dominionist Christian pastors who was, for a while, prophesying that Donald Trump would be reinstated as president within weeks of Biden being sworn in.
I think it's going to happen in August. Yeah. I seem to remember an August date.
Oh yeah, it got punted to August that year, but it continued to do so. And they were riding kind of along the same lines as there was some divergence between them and Mike Pillow, right? And they all go to the same churches. They're all wearing the same cross from the same wholesale shop. But
what the actual?
Yeah, exactly. But the point is that you can tell that MAGA is on its deathbed, largely, because specifically of where its leaders and where its grifters are turning their sights monetarily. Now, Tucker Carlson is in no way a believer in the Bible at all. He is not Christian at all. But what he does believe in is green. And he knows that these folks will part with their green if you tell a convincing enough story. And he did it on Fox for a long time. His show was defended on Fox in a legal case of defamation by saying nobody turns to him for news. His show is entertainment.
No reasonable person.
Yes,
I remember
right.
that was in it. Yeah,
that's right. No
that
reasonable
just stuck
person.
With me.
Right. Same thing. I mean, why would anybody think that Tucker Carlson's show on the Copeland Network or on his own, the Tucker Carlson Network that he set up himself, because why even bother to barnacle on somebody else's in the age of the internet? And if you come from money, you can finance your own thing. You don't have to, Trump Media and Technology Group sucker a bunch of investors, right? So in this, you can see, Russell Brand just getting, allegedly baptized. And, I usually make it a rule not to question someone's faith. Usually it has to do with if I haven't seen them become immediately faithful in, let's say, prison. You know what I mean? When Jeffrey Dahmer found Jesus, I was like, meh, I don't know. I don't buy it. Sorry. Normally I'll give everybody the breath to believe whatever they want. Again, and as we say in Masonry, everyone is entitled to their own unique mistake. It's none of my business how your beliefs work. That said, in the case of Tucker Carlson and Russell Brand, and in many ways, Glenn Beck, who went religion shopping when he had a kid. I don't know if you know this, but he literally, he was not religious in any way. So he and his wife, because they were going to have a kid, wanted to find a religion to bring the kid up in. So they literally went to different churches, basically looking at the bennies. What are the benefits of this church? And in Mormonism, the man gets a planet when he dies, and that, I guess Glenn was all in on that. Obviously, none of them look at the weight of behavior expected from them, right? None of them are going, oh, I got to stop, I guess, lying about Democrats and Biden and Kamala Harris and Hunter Biden and all this kind of stuff, and speak honestly about my fellow man and be forgiving and all that. I gotta change my ways. None of them do that. As a matter of fact, they get worse. And in the case of Glenn Beck and the like, Glenn Beck's been selling more prepper stuff than I have ever seen him sell.
I bet.
And Tucker Carlson is doing the rich guy's version of that, which is spending a lot of time filming at his cabin in the woods, away from society. Looking like he's living off the land, which he absolutely is not. He's got a cabin so deep in the woods that you can still reach it with Postmates. It's hooey. So that tells me that none of them are expecting this to go their way, and they believe the audience, the MAGA audience, that was the QAnon audience, that was the remnants of the Tea Party audience, that all those folks are expecting Trump to lose and that to trigger the end times. I mean, many of them believe it was that trigger existed when Trump recognized the Golan Heights as part of Israel, moved the capital. To them, they think there is a dominionist Christian group that literally believes that Trump moving the embassy is the temple being moved, because God's chosen land is America, and so moving our embassy to Jerusalem is what the Bible really meant. Not the real rebuilding of the temple, but bringing, basically the Church of America, the temple of America, which would be our embassy, to the Holy Land of Jerusalem again. And that's what will bring about the end times. I'm not kidding. You can watch hours of these people wandering through this madness. But the expectation is that Donald Trump is not going to make it, that he is not going to win. and the turnout aspect of this is gonna reflect that. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this, joined by Boston Brian, who has promised not to swear this time. We'll see if he can actually do it. I don't buy it personally. We'll be back.
No, me neither.
He's already shaking his head. Hold on, let me put him in here.
Man, I don't want to have to work.
Just have your thumb on the. It's okay, man. It's okay. Just have your thumb on the button the whole time. If you start getting a cramp, just switch arms.
You motherfucker.
I promise to be more subdued, Chicago. I promise.
I should soften him up like during the breaks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Get them all
Wait a
out.
minute. Don't give me this Russian pro-propagandist brick wall background.
No,
SOB.
absolutely not. Yeah, no, I'm doing it. I got you. Hold on. We got to do this. And okay. I think this has a. It's because of the shadow. More options.
Johnny, you never look better, buddy. There you go. Oh, he's back.
Yeah. I need to get the logo.
Mm-hmm.
So how is everything?
I almost really messed up while.
What?
I glanced at Facebook and somebody said like, "Oh, we're opening for Convoy tonight at Rockstars," and I thought that it was a bar completely in the other direction. I almost drove an hour south when I need to drive an hour north tonight.
Oh dear.
Yeah, because
That
imagine
happens.
there's more than one bar called Rockstars.
Yes, I've seen that happen before. I have.
Holy moly!
Yeah, not
my
good.
heart is pounding. I'm hours away from leaving, and my heart is pounding. I was so close.
Let's see. I try to
Jeez.
do this. No, make it. No, I don't know. Let's try to make it here.
I like
I
them
was
all.
only kidding. It doesn't matter what background you give me. I was only messing with you.
All right. Okay. I was just changing the shadows. How about that? You just fit right in. There you go.
And it's funny
Excellent.
as I move my green screen, and now I feel like Willie in the Charlie in the Chocolate
Yeah, it's
Factory.
good.
The Univision or whatever it's called there.
Univision.
Oh, I forget what it's called.
I don't know.
You
I don't know
gotta
how you
dress
spell.
up like a penguin or
I
something.
don't know how you
right?
spell Charlie.
Am I gonna hear
CHOLLIE? Yeah.
don't wanna talk
You'll
over
hear. No, you'll hear. This is the break, so we have till 5 after is usually the top of the hour. Like,
So Trump really blew it, huh?
see what you did there,
Hey now.
dude. Yeah, and he literally. All right, wait. Let's see. I think we have this here. Hold on. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. I've got. Yeah. So this is Johnny Million. This is him. Watch this. Ownk.
I posted a good one, Hal, too.
Onk.
Somebody superimposed the microphone stand with something else, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, I saw it too. Yeah.
You know
Look
what this
at
speaks
that.
to more than anything is impulse control.
Watch. Also, can I just say for a second, there is no.
Hilarious.
Is that a? Hold on.
Did you see him punch it? Did you see him like punch it and curl it?
Wait a minute.
He, like at one point he smacked the microphone stand, then he went even further and he like curled it backwards. Like,
Oh,
to braid it.
wait. Johnny, look at that mic stand. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That's not a mic. That's a clip. He's
got
holding
the mic in his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
he's
ripped
holding
it
the
out.
mic.
He ripped it out earlier because it wasn't working.
Right.
Like he really ripped it out of the stand.
Yeah.
Like, he even tried
He's
to
holding
rip
the mic in
cord
his
out.
left hand.
He threw one mic down. They brought him another one, and then he continued to use that one without putting it back on the microphone stand. He just kind of switched hands.
That's what I mean. He's talking. He's talking into the clip. He's talking into the
right there. What he's actually talking about.
I do enjoy the
I
Zapruder
hate
effect
defending this
here.
guy, but he's actually talking about how on top of the microphone not working, the person that set up the microphone stand, it's too short. So if he bent over the whole time, the fake news would ask what was wrong with him if he had something wrong with his back. That's what he's talking about there. How he would have to like keep bending over to talk, and how they didn't set it up correctly. It was a whole thing.
Oh, he's such a douchebag. What a terrible human being.
But I don't think he knew there was a cord attached to the mic, because you can see him rip it off, and he rips it off pretty good, and he's surprised to see that there's like a cord attached to it.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when.
Dear God.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you if the putrid slut you're troweling out.
Face little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
By the way, welcome to the show. Boston Bryant joining us. He's got a show called Blunt Politics on Sunday, live streaming. And he and I are brothers from another mother in dealing with Donald Trump live without a net, as it were. When we're watching, we don't know what he's going to say next, what's going to happen next. It's I have to say, on a political level, it's sort of the equivalent of being Johnny Carson when a guest brings an animal on. It's just...
It's like free climbing. It's like we just stick our finger in the next crack that is Donald Trump's next sentence and hope that we can pull ourselves up to the next break.
We're noodling. Like when you go fishing for catfish, just like you stick your hand into a crevice.
Right, just wait for it to come up with it, trying to eat your arm. Right. So, and I want to thank everybody for the Super Chats helping the show out, and patreon.com/HalSparks. I also believe there's a Boston Brian one as well. Patreon.com/Boston Brian, as it were. Is that the name on it? Yeah.
Absolutely. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, excellent. And then Johnny's got It's Johnny Million. This is the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. We're on every Saturday. And let's just go straight to, what everybody hates to do, which is your prediction of how this is going to go. I'm very excited, but I'm curious, Boston Brian, what you feel about this.
I'm not much of a predictor. I lead with emotions a lot. So if I were to give a prediction, it would be very much a biased prediction based on what I'm hoping for anyway. Yep. I mean, just going off of, the early signs that we've seen, the more people voting tends to lead to a more democratic outcome, a better outcome for the Democratic Party. So we've seen lots of women coming out and voting, which is what we hoped for and what we expected with the whole Roe v. Wade situation and what's been going on as, making women second-class citizens right to second, as you always say, and not what we're voting on coming up. It's right now it's happening. We're voting to put an end to that. I'm hopeful that the signs that we've seen so far are pointing to a Kamala Harris victory, as everybody I'm sure in the chat knows, but I'm not much of making predictions.
Gotcha. And then I guess what would be the thing that storyline wise that's been sticking out to you in what you've seen in his latest rallies, beside him attempting to fillet a microphone stand yesterday, which is
his ability as a fat man and somebody that is the most unathletic person in the world to somehow get his foot inserted into his mouth at all moments, no matter what happens. Like even when he's handed somewhat of a gift with Joe Biden's fumbling of words, or what can be, what we're
supporters versus supporters. Yeah, supporters plural versus possessive. Right.
So that kind of ruined the whole news cycle that was rightly so going after Donald Trump and his campaign for the rhetoric coming out of the Madison Square Garden event. And that seemed to put not only a stop to that, but it gave right-wingers and conservative media something to grasp onto, something to come back at everybody with and to make it seem like a both sides issue. But I mean, the trash truck thing was just ridiculous.
Oh my God.
At least drive the thing yourself. You know what I mean?
Well,
I understand you need a certain class of license and all that, but I think they'd make an exception.
You need a license at all. Donald Trump cannot drive a car. Man of the people that he is. He couldn't even open the door to the vehicle because when...
And Walls called that out. He almost busted his ass trying to get inside.
Yeah, right. He almost killed himself. He said literally, he almost killed himself getting into a truck. Seriously, though. Donald Trump, as the wealthy man he's been his entire life, on top of the fact that he's been, he was a presidential candidate and then president and then a post-presidency. When do you think the last time Donald Trump opened his own car door? Golf carts don't have doors. Never? How long's it been? 40
or
years?
Or if he has, it's been a regular. It's been at normal height where he didn't have to, try to go up a little bit.
No, never. I'll tell you, the only time I've seen him open a door in the last 40 years on a vehicle was the fact when they were coming out of the bus on the Access Hollywood tape. And you hear Billy Bush trying to explain to him how to move the lever to open out because Trump wanted to be the first one out, and the door had to be opened from the inside. And you can hear him explaining it to him, like how the lever works. And it's right there. Like you can even hear Billy Bush basically going, it's that lever right there. It's on the inside of the door. It's exactly where you would think. It's like it's the same place it would be on an airplane bathroom. Like if he can get in and out of an airplane bathroom.
But even the whole, I'm going to protect women whether they like it or not, which is an extremely creepy thing. If you have some strange man show up your house as a woman and say, I'm going to protect you whether you like it or not, don't think that's something you're going to be comfortable with. The whole...
Unless he looks like Austin Bryan.
The whole Liz Cheney, 9 shooters, guns lined at her face thing has to be one of the most egregious things, most dangerous things ever said by any presidential candidate in any campaign in the history of this country. Bar when this country was first established and we had people run around with muskets just taking aim at whoever they wanted. But I mean, that rhetoric, especially with the followers that we know Donald Trump has, right? And at this late stage, they're going to be the most, right now we are seeing the most sycophantic, the most fanatic of Donald Trump's followers are the ones still around him, right?
That's right.
I mean, not to say that he's not going to get the fringe, because I got to say, I am a little, go ahead, Johnny, sorry.
I'm sorry. There seem to be a lot of young, college dude bros who think it's punk rock to like him because it makes people angry.
Literally just took the words right out of my mouth. It's a little frustrating to see such, the crowd that I am seeing, and it's more of a rebellious, nobody wants me to like this guy, so I'm going to like this guy. Or, I've seen a lot, especially with the Halloween videos, you see a lot of the parents coercing the kids into maybe dressing like Donald Trump.
MAGA.
Or doing the Secret Service pictures where a couple of the kids will be dressed like Secret Service, one will be dressed as Donald Trump doing the, whatever it is. I saw it in a Little League game where the whole team was dressed as Secret Service agents, and I guess the coach was Donald. But the kids didn't come up with the idea. What I mean? So obviously, but I mean, it's just his ability to continue to put his foot in his mouth and to continue to show people just how dangerous he is, even though he's incredibly stupid. Sometimes being stupid is the dangerous part if you have enough power and enough control behind you. You don't want a madman, a guy that is clearly falling apart physically and mentally in front of our eyes, just at a rapid rate. His incoherent
because
thoughts.
The shit turns into policy.
The best example is when he talks about, or when he tries to describe the SpaceX rocket coming back down.
Hang on, Brian.
And
hold on,
sorry,
Johnny broke the rules.
I win.
He got it. All right, good. Johnny swore.
Hey, Brian didn't even do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. I'm
so
bad influence. All I got to do is sit here. I swear.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever done just a plain old.
I would
up one like that before.
No. The last one Johnny did, he messed it up because he was he thought it was okay to say that word on the air, which I.
Right. Yeah. It was GD. I had no idea.
Yeah. Now, yesterday, by the way, Nicole Wallace said repeatedly. With bull on the front of it, what you said, largely because of the volume of that word making the rounds. Not just because Trump has been saying it, but he gets points for saying it from his followers. And this kind of goes to that sort of macho jerk, rebellious thing that you're talking about, is that by swearing a little bit, and we used to talk about how I think it Way Cool Jr. or I Want a Woman or whatever. There was a Rat song where they say the word ass. And right afterwards, there's this guitar solo that we used to joke around in high school with just we said ass. Oh man, oh, look what we did.
Well,
and
there's also a dementia connection too, to be said with increased swearing.
Right. We'll get to that in a second. But I think he wants to claim the fact that he's the only one that speaks like that. And Walz has dropped a couple of those One about
he's all
Elon
over
Musk.
it. Walls talks like a person. He talks like a coach.
Yeah,
I said it right off the beginning. Walls is definitely a guy you'd like to have a beer with or go out and have a coffee with if
Right.
you don't drink. You know what I mean? The conversation you could pull up with that guy, I think, would be very interesting.
I have to say it's fascinating watching that sort of shift in the news in dealing with the language that they're using on the air. And I got to say, I do this radio show every Saturday. I have for 15 years. I probably have sworn twice in that time, largely at the beginning of my regular live streaming, considering how much I swear on that show. If you watch my regular live stream, it's shocking I don't drop F-bombs by accident everywhere. But I
actually did a whole segment in my live stream dedicated to that, and I said I don't know how he's done it, but somehow he's trained himself to shut it off on that one single morning. When if you go back and look at any of his other videos, it's like
boom,
hard pressed to find one that's not in there.
Yeah, and I don't care. And in my own live stream, I guess it comes from growing up in comedy clubs. Because I can talk a certain way in a comedy club, but I wouldn't talk that way in front of my grandmother or my mom or my family or whatever. So, or in high school, in class, right, when I started being a stand-up. So I'd have to, draw that line pretty strongly and was able to do it. The weird part is that I think Walls is doing it to reclaim those words so that Trump doesn't get the cool points for being the guy that cusses and, oh, man, because it really does diminish it. It may even be a strategy on the Walls, on the Harris-Walls campaign to go, hey, Walls, drop this. If he says the word, you say the word, because it'll just take the weight off it. He won't get extra points for saying it because it'll normalize it, and it makes him Trump. But the other thing, like you were saying, Brian, was that also Trump can't control himself. He's just getting angrier and swearing. I think it's going to get worse in the next 48 hours. I
would just like to say there is at least one show, if not multiple, that you can pull up from Blunt Politics where when Joe Biden was still in the race, was telling Joe Biden and basically my viewers that he needed to come out and just drop a couple either F-bombs, a couple because we know he does in the background.
Yes.
We've all heard the reports that he does in the background. And this was at the time where I think Donald Trump had been on a similar campaign where it, in a few rallies said, a few bad words or something like that. So this was the time where I was like, in order for Joe Biden to get this, it would make him look vigorous. Like it would give him some vigor in the media if you just came out and said, what this guy's saying is BS. Or this guy's an effing lunatic, or whatever it may be. Whatever his campaign, whatever situation they thought would be the right situation for it. Like I think it would have been a powerful moment where it's like people would it would have taken him seriously and been like, oh, all right, this guy's not he's not messing around with this. You know what I mean?
Right. He's taking it as seriously as I am.
And I think now is this is what Tim Walz is kind of doing here. So.
I agree. If you're going to try and help dig Johnny out of the hole he created for himself, that's the way to do it, I suppose. All right, we're going to take a break. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more Johnny Million. And, of course, Boston Brian joining us today. We're going to have some questions from the chat for him after this, but I got some really good news out of
ready to go.
I've got some really good news out of Pennsylvania I want to share when we come back. Really good news.
I like good news.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pre-feed you guys the question. This is from Colleen Sarah. Ask about, quote, Illuminati and similarity to Project 2025.
That's hell all the way.
Yeah, I mean, but besides the fact that it's the Project 2025 is a secret agenda that they would have, that, people behind the scenes effectively, I wouldn't doubt that people who work at the Heritage Foundation like the Eyes Wide Shut masks and the weird Madison Cawthorn.
But is it a secret though? That's the whole thing. Isn't it just more of a compilation of known ideas that these right-wing think tanks
It's an
have had for
IKEA
years?
instruction manual for fascism. The dude is like, they don't trust Trump. Thank you. They don't trust Trump enough to follow through. He didn't last time.
The only reason it has somewhat becomes like a secret is because it's become taboo and people put the connection to Donald Trump, I think. You know what I mean?
Right.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So, rumor has it that Donald Trump's internal polls are showing him losing Pennsylvania by 5 points. which is enormous.
At all?
Right now, in the early voting, mail and absentee voting, the total so far, 1,742,908, up 54,000 since yesterday. Democrat, 55% of that early vote, 973,363, up 26,000. This is where I'm getting my whole Tuesday might be a drop-off point, meaning that Republicans don't show on Tuesday, which will be the big piece of news late in the day, is that low Republican turnout in the exit polls because people can't bring themselves to vote for Trump and they're not going to vote for Harris and they don't care enough to vote at all or they're trying to avoid it. You're going to see a diminish of those votes. We'll see. Republicans in the early vote, 32%. There's 572,481 votes. Now, those are by no means all for Trump. Just because they're registered Republican, all the Democrats that are voting for Harris. No question. All those 973,000 votes plus are going to Harris. Not all of the 572,000 that have already been cast for Trump are going to him. We know this. Even if it's 100,000 or 60,000, that's a major deal. Major dent in his show up. And then other, which is 11%, 197,000, that's independents. Those are people, early voters. Early voting independents are not voting for Trump. They're not, by and large. That's up by 8,000. So that's almost 200,000. What that means is, and let's say you split them evenly between both sides. Let's say you give half, and it's not going to break that way. It's going to break more to Harris. But let's just split it right down the middle of that 11%. Trump is behind in the early vote by 400,000 votes.
Do you think he gets this information? Like, I have no doubt that his internal polling shows this, and I have no doubt that he has people that know this information. But do they relay this information to Donald Trump? Like, we know his history with bad news. We know his history
he doesn't want it, right?
Of being a dictatorial like figure where they didn't even want to wake Hitler up when they the Allies landed on the beaches of Normandy, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? So it's like, at what point do they just kind of feed him, maybe dribs and drabs, but not the real story, and tell him, yeah, you're doing well, which is half the reason why he's out there saying it in public and why I don't know. He seems a lot more irritable lately. He seems a lot like he's getting a lot more run down.
I think there's two. Yes, I think that's twofold. I think you're absolutely right that I think they share the bad news polls with him on the airplane or later or when he doesn't have a rally. But he's got almost a rally every day. I think they share polls, fake ones, or exaggerated ones or positive ones or even old ones to him right before he goes on stage. Otherwise, he's miserable. He's too miserable to perform.
He's always bringing up Rasmussen. That's
the one they share with him.
So it's like they just continue to just show him that one to keep him happy. Like, all right, Rasmussen, well, they're probably talking to the people behind the scenes of Rasmussen, like, all right, just put out something positive. That way we can throw it in there. Like they used to do in the daily briefings. They used to have to put his name, insert his name into certain sections of the daily briefing to kind of keep him interested, to keep him reading what's going on. Like something similar to that. Like, just give him something that will keep him going.
Yeah,
keep him wanting to at least go to the
think
next
they show
rally.
him. I think they show that to him right as he's walking, on stage. But when
he's like,
yeah, right. But the problem is they have to get him to stay on message or address certain voter groups, and he doesn't want to do it. And so I think they have to show him bad news around those voter groups. That's why he keeps saying stuff like, I don't know why women wouldn't like me. Remember that quote just came out recently, like a day ago, that he keeps asking people why women don't like him. That's because they're showing him polls that say he's losing women. And that's why he keeps coming out. And his solution, oh my God, his solution when they say women don't like you is to come out and go, I'm going to take care of women whether they like it or not. And you can, the collective forehead slap that goes on.
I know you don't like me, women, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to round you all up and I'm going to
just
bring you down
force
to
myself
Mar-a-Lago.
on you.
We're going to tie you down in the basement and I'm going to keep you safe. How about that?
I'm going to grab him by the rights. Yeah.
Or what about Vance and his the average gay guy, where he thinks the average gay guy, because they just want to be left alone. How many times have they tried to pass legislation against the LGBTQ
Community, right?
Community. They
Right.
just want to be left alone. So we're just going to try to take the rights
Then
away.
leave them alone. Here's, how about
then
this?
Actually, leave them alone.
You could have arguably skipped the issue of marriage entirely. You could have just sat it out if you just provided them with the right to go see their partner, like anybody else. You know what I mean? That
even Donald Trump the other day in Albuquerque, New Mexico, after
In
his
the
whole
hospital.
debacle at Madison Square Garden, where he comes out and he says, basically, I'm here for one reason. And then he prefaces it by saying, I like you, but basically I'm only here to gain favor with the media, and so I can get a couple points with the Latino and the Hispanic communities after what had taken place in New York City. So, I mean, the guy tells his voters that he's A, using them, B, he's only set this up because something went wrong in a prior rally, and that he's just using this as
Right.
bonus
Cleanup.
point. Right, exactly. So it's like, at this point, he doesn't seem to care. He seems to be a lot more irritable. Seems to be a lot more run down, which is obvious. He's been doing a lot more
Right.
campaign stops and events than he has before. So I don't doubt that it's taken its toll on him. And what I tweeted the other day or yesterday is, if you think his physical and mental decline we're seeing is rapid now and is very obvious now, just wait until he loses on Tuesday. And he realizes that reality is about to set in, and that
Right.
he has no other recourses to stop, the court cases and the accountability and the justice that he's about to face after this.
Yeah. So
What kind of violence do you think might happen after the election when they're realizing that there's no legal way for them to win?
Oh, he set them up perfectly for a almost spot on another January 6th type moment where, you tell your people that you've been up in the polls this entire time. When you tell your people that when every single time he's gotten indicted, he's gotten a jump in the polls. Every time that they bring him in front of a judge, it's gone up in the polls. He's leading in the polls. He's up in the polls. The only way he started just recently playing a video that said, again, the only way that Democrats will win this is if they cheat. The only thing they're good at is cheating. So he's already started this whole.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear him talking about what's going on in Pennsylvania. He's
Right.
already started this whole thing. Not only that, but I would like to mention the video montage
Yes.
that he has been playing. That almost seems like a farewell to Donald Trump.
Yes.
Like, it almost seems like, because if you watch on RSBN when the video plays, all the Trumpies in there are like, oh, I'm getting emotional. This is, it almost seems like the end, seems like a farewell. And that is exactly what that video is. That is something that Donald Trump can take off into the sunset.
Yeah.
And it's like a little snippet with cringy music behind it. It's basically a TikTok video somebody made with ridiculous music behind it. But it doesn't seem like a video of somebody that expects to win.
No.
It seems like somebody that expects to, like I said, have to walk away from this whole thing entirely.
Yeah, and to some degree wants to. That you can tell. First of all, the night he won in 2016, he looked panicked.
Oh, he's haggard. He's haggard.
Yeah, and now, most presidents are aged by the presidency because the decisions you have to make, if you have any empathy or emotion at all, you look back at, you look at the things you have to do. They bring you these war breaking out, some tragedy that's happened, and you've got to deal with it. You've got to make a decision about it, and you agonize about whether or not you're making the right decision. Everybody does that. That's why, from Clinton, Obama, even George W. Bush, they age heavily during that. Trump didn't, because he didn't care. None of the stuff, those decisions don't age him because he's not attached to real world ramifications for other people. But since he left office, and for the first time in his life, he has faced some sort of a comeuppance in court and he's actually having to, he's committed crimes and there's a chance he will go to jail for them. He has aged precipitously.
Joe Biden doesn't stay awake at night thinking about these things. When he says that there's people, like, he's been laying awake at night thinking about, like, how to solve the problems of the country. When really, he's been laying awake at night trying to figure out how he can save his butt from these cases.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like, Joe Biden doesn't stay awake worrying about terrorism and the border and that kind of stuff. And, like, neither do you, dummy. We can read your Truth Social posts. You're whining about your judge and the attorneys you work with. Go ahead.
No,
No, we got to take a break in another minute. So just finish your thought. It's
well,
cool.
just recently, Trump was talking about, he came out in one of his rallies and said, he would love to have everything recorded that he did in his presidency. But, then he thought about Richard Nixon and, he doesn't want to, what would happen if there was tapes. He just recently came out in one of his rallies and was talking about this. And you could see him reflecting on it like, oh, man.
That's because he knows
There's no tapes of everything that I said in there.
Yes, there is. Yep, and this is where we will find out that Mar-a-Lago is bugged and has been since the warrant was issued. No, I don't care what they say, that the Secret Service is responsible for putting those bugs back after their sweep. So anyways, we've got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
That, and he's totally retracted his statement, like weak people always do. They retract their statements, but he was hit by some of the strongest, not human beings, women. He was hit by the strongest people.
Wait, that not human beings?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Your friend's back at it too, Hal. I forgot to mention your old pal, your old good pal, Anna Kasparian's back.
Oh yes, right on. Yeah, I saw your post about her. I talked about it yesterday on the live stream.
I was gonna tag you in it, but I didn't want to tag you and her in the same one. I didn't want to make it contentious, so I figured I was hoping you'd see it. I mean, how ridiculous it went from, we shouldn't be calling him a fascist. Well, okay, maybe he's a fascist, but was he able to get the things done that he tried to do the first time? Okay, he didn't get it done the first time, but it's like, well, doesn't that mean we should try to do him harm then? It's like, well, do you see yourself moving the goalpost to try to justify
I'll go one further. Part of her rightward move, her red pilling, thank you. Part of her red pilling allegedly comes from the idea that she was assaulted or somebody attempted to sexually assault her. Remember the homeless guys or whatever? Oh, so we're supposed to let those guys go because they weren't successful in their attack?
Right.
There is, I would argue, there is a myriad of things that Donald Trump says that are ridiculous and absurd. And let me say something to the Donald Trump entertainment industrial complex, which is, throughout the interwebs, of which I and Boston Brian are both barnacles on occasion, but certainly the big ones being like the New York Times and other sites not wanting him to go away because he's such good news. He's such good, fodder for news. If you'll recall, the Johnny Depp trial or the OJ trial or the Menendez brothers back in the day or what have you, Donald Trump will be giving us all plenty of entertainment in those terms where there will be plenty of details to hash out and whether or not he'll be found guilty on certain charges and other stuff for years to come.
Where he should be, in front of a camera where it doesn't matter for the American people.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Where in the entertainment, like where we can laugh and point and mock him for everything that he's done in his past life and everything that he's going to have find justice for in the future. But he shouldn't have any impact on our daily lives.
That's exactly right. That was one of the upsides of OJ or Menendez or even the Weinstein trials and stuff like that. It's good to see somebody who's done something get their comeuppance and the like. It's to see get a lesson in how the justice system works. I think that's a good regular. It's the only civics lessons a lot of people were getting for a long time.
He should be TMZ gold, basically.
Yeah.
That's as high as it should go. He should be the stalwart for TMZ to follow for the rest of his days for whatever he does.
But without the possibility, I mean, there's a meter that judges the amount of damage a human being can do to their fellow human beings, and as long as it stays in the kind of orange zone, it can be prurient to watch and interesting. But once it gets into the red, it's no longer that kind of entertainment. There's another price to be paid on top of that. And again, women are currently paying that price for the news treating Donald Trump like sane washing him, essentially.
Like there's any kind of parity between him and Kamala.
Right. Yeah, like this is a horse race, that this is normal in any way. In the same way that, that some people arguing that Jill Stein is a legitimate candidate and not an intentional spoiler.
Just on my home screen on my Amazon Fire TV, when you just kind of leave it on the home screen with your apps and you don't touch it. All of a sudden I heard Trump talking, and I'm like, how the heck is that playing? So I go over and look out, and it's basically like a mini infomercial that ABC is doing on, like, you know, for how they do previews on movies, and then it'll switch to another thing.
Yeah.
Like, basically like a screensaver type thing. And it was like trying to make Donald Trump and make him look like a legitimate candidate, and like this is an actual, like, a normal presidential race. You know how they usually do that? Like, okay, they'll do a Donald Trump and then what Kamala says, and then they'll say, 2024 election. And it's like, how they in their minds can try to make him look like a legitimate candidate in this situation is beyond me. I really just don't understand it. I can't, for the life of me, I don't understand it.
Nor do I. And I also think there's this, I think they're doing it with Elon Musk a lot lately as well. There's a lot of cleanup about who he is in this attempt to try to sane wash who he has become. And his mother's out there doing a lot of that stuff, which I think is a mistake considering that she and her husband made their fortune in apartheid. And it's no surprise that people who got rich under apartheid are still mad at the United States and the UK for making it go away, because they blame the U.S. and our anti-apartheid push for that happening. It is no surprise that they would be as subversive as they possibly can in their attempts to destroy the country from within. She says, and this is, May Musk was on Neil Cavuto's show this morning. He goes, if I was dishonest, I could go to every polling station in New York and vote, or even go back to the same one every hour. This is what she says. And my response to it was, try it, dummy. Have fun in prison. Because once you vote, it comes up on those screens that you've already voted. The idea that New York just has, like, poll books that somebody just scribbles in there like it's...
No, they're just spiral binders.
What's this one say? Is that an I or a B?
Yeah, right. Yeah, like it's Ellis Island in the 1800s.
Just make your mark.
Yeah, right. What she's saying is inserious. It is absurd. And if she tried it, she would go to jail. If you try that, and I'm telling everybody who watched that or thinks that that's possible, because there's a bunch of people responding like, yeah, that's how it works. You can totally. No, you can't. And if you try, you will go to jail.
Well, it's the same thing when they talk about immigrants trying to vote in our elections.
Right.
It's like, you think some person was going to uproot their entire life, right?
Yeah.
They're going to make it as far as they had to make it from whichever country they had to make it in South or Central America. They made it all the way here. They managed to get through. They managed to get either legally or illegally. And then all of a sudden, you think they've established this whole thing, and they're gonna risk everything. That they've gone through in order to cast a vote for a city mayor, or even if they do care about the president of the United States, like they understand it's understood that it's a federal crime to do so, and you're risking severe penalties and deportation, obviously. So I don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like talking about things that are already illegal now that we need laws for that are already illegal now. It's like that's already illegal right now.
Yeah, the reality of, like, just even regular people voting twice or whatever, and then finding out the hard way, like those 4 people in the Villages who, every single person we found in the last round that was busted for voting illegally, only one of them was someone you could allege to be a Democrat, because you don't know actually how they voted. The ones at the Villages we knew because they had Trump signs all over the place. But the one black lady who voted, who thought because she was let out of prison that
in Texas,
you could vote. Yeah, that you could vote while you were on probation. She didn't realize that means you haven't fully served your term, and in Texas law, you have to fully serve your term. That includes your probation.
5 years or something crazy.
Yeah, she got 5 years. She got let out recently. She didn't serve the whole term as well, and she's probably going to have that expunged.
But what about the people in the Villages? What happened? What was their sentence, and how many years did they do?
Well, it's Florida versus Texas, and it's a federal charge, but a state violation. So I think they got 12 years, four for each of the 3 charges. Yeah, and they'll probably do 6, or they might even do less. They might do 4 because they're old. But the point is that
bad boys.
Yeah, what you gonna do? So the idea is somehow that you would sneak into this country to get work so you could send money back home, and you're going to chance getting busted in committing a crime like that, like getting a check from a Democratic or a Republican operative even to file a fake, to vote fraudulently with your address attached to it. And like, it's just so dumb. Like,
this is illegal, and here's where to find me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Just, why don't you just leave breadcrumbs back from every liquor store you knock over? Like,
we're the wet bandits.
How do we find them? We had a gerbil on a leash. It just followed the seeds from the bread.
Come on, Marv.
Yeah, right. So that in general, the fact that it is impossibly rare and never has an impact or whatever, but it's the majority of what they believe is the impact. That Republicans have been BS'd into thinking that this is primarily the strategy, but it has to be because maybe they just live in a silo of information, and they have to believe that there can't be that many Democrats. Everybody I talk to is wearing a MAGA hat. Well, maybe you only talk to people in MAGA hats.
Well, that's basically all conservatism is. It's basically the fundamental inability to learn definitions, to learn simple, societal ways and processes and laws. That way you can enter a conversation or a debate in a knowledgeable manner and understand what you're talking about. Because we saw when people think of Ben Shapiro as the premier academic spokesperson for the conservative side, right? He's basically what the right want. Anybody on the right trying to do this kind of shoots to be a Ben Shapiro type, where you can be on YouTube, not really, you can say offensive stuff, but say it in a way where you kind of get away with it, type thing. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Ben Shapiro,
he was dismantled on. I'm blanking on the name of the show there, but what Jubilee it's called.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The 25 people that went up against Ben Shapiro in that debate thing, and it's like none of them were professionals that I'm aware of. Some of them were college kids, and basically because they knew their facts. And what was the one kid that was really good?
The trans,
if I'm not mistaken, I believe he was
the trans man.
Right. Was Morgan his name?
I believe so, yeah.
I don't, something like that. So he was unbelievable. But he was unbelievable because he had a concept and a knowledge of the facts and an understanding of how things work. Like when they say, like when he said, don't you think that because the asylum process and the immigration process that the people have to go through and that it takes sometimes up to 10 years and beyond, don't you think that incentivizes people to come here illegally? Right? Like, don't you think if that was an easier process, still went through the rigorous background checks that were necessary, but somehow shortened the time that it would take, don't you think people would be more apt to take the legal road as opposed to try to find a way around the process and not to spend 10 years in litigation and courts and doing this and that?
Right.
And Ben Shapiro had no answer for it. It's just simple. It's basically just simple common sense stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes it just definitionally, all that separates a liberal from a conservative is knowing the definition of the things that you're talking about.
Well, and having some sort of clarity about the moral aspect of it as well, because you think about the people who first make it through the border, who come in from not just, let's say Mexico directly, which is maybe just a car ride and a walk for them, but the people who travel great distances and spend $10,000 to get a coyote to get them across the border the first time, and under Title 42 was kicked out, and the next time they didn't have $10,000, so they bring drugs through as their payment, or repeatedly every time they're kicked out, and that's how Title 42 created the conveyor belt of immigration encounters that we saw, and there's nowhere near that number of immigrants in the country, period.
Encounters.
Yes, right. Encounters being the main one. And the idea, I don't know how they get away with this whole idea of like gotaways are so huge and that kind of stuff, which just, I guess, is saying right to Customs and Border Patrol's face, so you guys aren't doing your job? You're just letting them through? What do you do? Wave them through, or do you just wave and say hi? Have you learned how to say hola? And they're like, don't say hola to me. I'm from the Congo. Like, I'm from prisons.
Crazy.
I don't.
All you got to do is look at the
absurd.
Trump rally too, because it's like if you listen to what RSBN says before the broadcast, if you listen to the pre-speakers, then you listen to Donald Trump, and then you listen to what you'll hear anywhere from 8 million to Donald Trump's 20 2 million or whatever he's saying now, as the amount of immigrants that have come into the country under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And it's like, don't they understand how they sound? Like when you got RSBN saying 8 or 9 million, and then you got Donald Trump going on stage saying over 20 million. Like that's a huge disparity. You guys sound foolish. You should be at least a little more cohesive in your talking points. You know what I mean?
But if they were, the problem with being cohesive in your talking points and having an awareness of the facts is that it's counterproductive to your argument, because the more you find out about it, the more your argument fails you. It's why it's in their best.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's in their interests. Yeah, for Glenn Beck to stay dumb. It's in Ben Shapiro's interest to stay dumb, to be blind.
So if you learn the definitions and learn what's actually going on, then you wouldn't have the same thought process, and you probably wouldn't land on the same side of the aisle. Is the whole thing.
Or you wouldn't be, or you might still, because you're comfortable with just selling the lie, and you'd just be, maybe you're just not.
If you're a scumbag, you're just a scumbag.
Right. You're not a good enough liar. You're not a good enough liar to hide the fact that you know better.
Right.
And the
some are in to
and,
make money. Some are just bad people. So,
right.
There's a lot of different players in this game where it's their motives and intentions and why they're doing, like the whole tenant media thing. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you've seen it, but Sam Cedar sat down with Tim Pool for a debate. And kind of confronted Tim. I'm thinking about playing it on my stream tomorrow, but it's a longer form conversation, so I don't know if it's the best. I don't know if it's the best time to do it, but if anybody wants to check it out, Sam does confront Tim on the whole tenant thing and tries to try to push and prod and kind of ask the same questions that I think if you were to sit down with Tim would ask him on that situation.
Sure.
Like, you didn't have any question. Like, I'm not saying you knew you were taking money straight from the Kremlin, like you weren't getting paid.
But you made sure you didn't know.
And then he catches Tim in this whole licensing. Did you have a licensing deal before this whole tenant media? And then, Tim tries to play it off like he had one with Nat Geo and Discover, which I think he, then says happened after. So then Sam pushes him and is like, well, it's okay. Just to be clear, you didn't have any licensing deals before this whole tenant media thing. And it's a good conversation to see how Tim is trying to get around it. And the whole premise of the conversation is they're talking about capital punishment when it comes to treasonous activity. And it's funny to see Tim try to say that he's against capital punishment in past episodes, as Sam rightly brings up, he's been for capital punishment, and he says so. But now that Tim's kind of walking this fine line of getting money from an enemy of the country and
suddenly,
receiving funds from an enemy to promote
there's a legal
propaganda.
argument for why he would be guilty of treason, and therefore all of a sudden, I don't know if treason is that big a deal,
Right. So you can see the wheels turning in his head, like, I got to kind of like get out of this somehow. And I think that's why he tries to come off as like this independent, like, so he can walk, he can just hop on the left side if he needs to be on the left for something. He can hop on the right, because you can tell he's afraid of Sam. And he wants to try to agree with him, and then who knows? The next show he goes right back to saying his ridiculous
we got to take a break. But it's always interesting to me how when it comes to right-wing talkers, they come in two kind of packages. One, the ones who never fold and will defend stuff even when they know they're wrong, and they just keep the argument for argument's sake is their key. Matt Walsh is one of those people. The What is a Woman documentary guy. And then the other ones are the ones who fold immediately and try to act like they're your friend. Once they're in the physical room with you, they talk a big game, but as soon as they're in the room with you, they start sucking up immediately. And I think it's, quite frankly, I think a bunch of them are trying to steal Pacman's sort of backdoor insult system, and they just fail at it. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. I kind of gave away part of the happy ending with the Philadelphia and with the Pennsylvania numbers, but it gets better. And Tuesday's Tuesday's going to be tense. Wednesday's going to be everybody's be nervous in the morning. But I got news for you. They're going to call it a lot sooner than they did last time, even with the Republicans fighting it. We'll be back. Yeah.
I thought your camera just fell over. You were so close to your camera.
Hi there.
Live stream, Hal. Can you hear me, Hal?
Yes, I can hear you.
Is there an official Sexy Liberal live stream?
Yes, there is. SexyLiberal.com. You can get tickets on there for the show tonight.
Oh man, I'll be in California by the end of the month.
So, all right.
You guys break a leg. Hope you have a great show. Have a great time.
Well, sexy.
Was
we're
that
gonna
the
have,
last one?
We've got a jam night Thanksgiving week if you're around. So.
Yeah. I'm here till I think December. I'm there till December 2nd, I believe it is. My birthday's the 25th, and then what's Thanksgiving? The 24th.
Something like that. Yeah.
This year.
Yeah.
It's the day before my birthday, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it should be a good week, and if we can connect, that would be fantastic.
Well, I insist.
But I know it's a tough week with Thanksgiving and stuff. So.
No, because because of my custody stuff, we swap holidays. So I had camp for Thanksgiving last year, so I get them
been through it
for Christmas.
I did, what is it? Thursdays and every other weekend for
Yeah.
as many years as I could possibly remember. With my
It's a little more complicated in my situation with the travel involved, but it's for holidays. It's
right.
Who gets who?
Well, he might.
Thank you.
How old is he now?
He's 13. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's almost at the age where you're just going to start taking him with you. He might just start being a bit in your comedy act. You can be
Almost.
a two-team act.
Almost,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm sure he's got the Hal Sparks wit and sense of humor. I mean, he can only play so many video games with Hal Sparks and not catch on to some of it.
Oh my God. I made the case.
All right, it's time to say goodbye. And cue the music.
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together.
No, not that music.
no.
The one Hal sings. Not that one. This one. Now let's get back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Boats and hoes.
Boats and hoes.
Well, Busted Brian, we are truly a nation in decline. You can't go anywhere and go to get a French fry without slamming your face. You slam your face into that hot whatever it is. Busted Brian, we're coming to the end of the beginning of the side of the front. Doesn't matter, I still can't see whatever it is that I use to...
My audio team is in decline.
That's right. This mic doesn't work. The production's in decline. I'm not paying the bill.
Unreal. Imagine saying that.
My bowels...
Like, there's a legal process. You understand that? Like, there's a legal
My
process.
bowels are in decline. Sorry,
If you signed a contract with a contractor, and you don't think he performed the work up to the standard that was issued in the contract, then there's a legal process for you to take that man to court and litigate what has happened, and they take pictures, and there's a whole process. You don't just say, "Fuck,"
Brian,
you don't just.
Brian, I love you, but
know what I mean?
wait, Brian, you're missing something that Johnny Million and I have a lot of experience with in this particular area. In that there's backline and there's your gear. And the back line is the stuff you borrow, rent, have, whatever. Your gear is your gear. And those microphones he takes around are his. His complaint about whatever's happening is because they either bought them and the people they have running them don't understand the different frequencies those mics are on, so they go out occasionally.
We could show those TikTok videos. He just said it at one of his latest rallies. He said how he started showing four. I think it's like 4 or 5 videos now at his rallies to kind of soak up some time, give him a break because he's blowing out his voice.
Yeah, right.
As he said. So he plays a couple TikTok videos up there, but it's just the whole thing is nonsense. To begin with. It absolutely no sense to me. And it's weird.
Yeah, my point about the microphones is that you can't sue yourself. Those are his microphones. If they fail,
right.
Yeah, he's
that's
not.
What I was saying. He spent $1 million for the screens to take around so we could show those videos. That's
right, exactly. And those things are going to be parked at Mar-a-Lago in one of the unused ballrooms. I lost Johnny for a second. There you go. Your camera's gone, Johnny.
They'll be used for YMCA karaoke for the rest of his days.
Oh my God! Yeah. But no, he's going to sell them to Ben Shapiro to use as a video wall for the right-wing version of The Mandalorian.
That's Alex Jones' next set.
Yeah, right. They're gonna, hey, I got this car I'm sitting in. I'm working for Postmates now, and I don't know if you've seen that, but he drives. A lot of his videos are driving now. So I have a theory that he's working for Uber Eats and he eats all the food. So I can't get any tips.
He's always going deeper and deeper into debt.
Well, I like seeing Joe Rogan finally show his true colors with a picture of what was that? Tom Dillon. What's the guy's name? Tom Dillon and Alex Jones with the
Free Ghislaine shirt.
Yeah, that's it's some there's comedy and then there's just like not comedy and like
a dead
something
giveaway
that tells you exactly who you are, like who the person is inside.
Right. So the in terms of polling right now, first of all, I got to say my favorite moment of the week was Joe Biden voting. He gets there, he waits in line with everybody else, and he votes. And there's a elderly black lady who's in line in a wheelchair, and Joe just decides to push. He decides he takes over. Her daughter
was the question.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Right. Well, according to Glenn Beck and Donald Trump, he hates Harris, so he probably voted for Trump, which is
Honestly,
just like
I just not to be mean or anything, but I would be very happy if that man stayed away from a microphone and a camera till November 6th. That's just my theory. Please keep him away from the cameras. Thank you.
Well, that's he knows this, and that's because again he was always the guy who
Mark
said.
Cuban. I don't know what Mark Cuban and these people think they're speaking on behalf of the campaign are thinking when they go out there and they want to continue to denigrate women even if they are following Trump. I mean, I think that was.
I gotta say, well, that's a good it's a good point to finish on. Is what when you're talking about his thing is he's Trump not being surrounded by strong, smart women. The case he's making is that and I this was my defense of his was that. I don't think you would call a woman calling a woman who hands her child over to David Koresh in the Branch Davidians so that he can have an affair with an underage girl is not a strong, smart mother. But that's not an attack on motherhood. That's a specific attention to that woman's behavior. And Trump's issue is that he runs off all the strong, smart women around him. There's an argument that. While Nikki Haley is sucking up to him and trying to protect herself, lately he won't let her campaign for him. She's not an official spokesperson. She didn't join the team afterwards. And so Cuban's basically saying that what he's got around him is Kellyanne Conway and whatever. And so I get that. And it doesn't work good in clips.
I think we'd be best served to recognize the fact that there are absolutely strong, smart women and strong, smart men that follow and have bought into the propaganda that a lot of people and right-wing think tanks have spent a lot of time, energy, and money dumping resources into right-wing propaganda and these other conservative outlets to get the people to believe just that. And we have to recognize at some point that not all of these people are, trailer park people or these hick types that would like to believe there are bankers.
Oh yeah, well no, doctors, I wouldn't use that as the standard, and I completely agree that. Sometimes you have a good message, but you're the worst shepherd for it. There are a bunch of people who, we have this issue, and I'm sure the right wing has it a bunch, is that you might feel the right thing, you might understand the issue and stuff, but how you're going to say it because of who you are and how you're going to articulate it might cause more harm than good. And so it's best, even though you're right about the issue and right about your idea and what you're trying to purvey, maybe you're just either incapable or the public perception of who you are as a person is such and so out of whack with what you're saying, or that you should be the messenger, that you should maybe sit this one out. And I think that applies to way more people, and I think it would be to Cuban in this particular instance. It wasn't that he was wrong in this, is that he shouldn't be talking about that part of it at all. Right.
We have to recognize that Democrats are held to a different standard rhetorically, and the things that we say and the words that we use and the way the phrases that we use them matter to a different standard than Republicans and Donald Trump and how he uses things. And the sooner we recognize that and use that to our benefit in some way, even though I know it's a slight against the Democrats and a slight against liberals. Basically, they can't. No matter what they say, they're judged on a different field, and Donald Trump is graded on a curve, basically, whereas the Democrats are just getting given a flat, this is the way they should be. They're not being like that, so they're wrong. Okay, Donald Trump's normally said stuff like this before, so it's not that weird that he's now saying that Liz Cheney should be lined up in front of a firing squad and have guns aimed at her face.
Yeah, that's right.
How is that not the biggest thing ever? Like, why is that not a headline around the world?
Exactly.
I don't know.
And the media will work very hard, and I want to thank Boston Brian for coming on today. The media will work very hard to kind of even out those phrases, even though they're not even in the same ballpark. And that's what we have to worry about. Anytime they say something like that, everybody hold your fire for a day. Even your criticisms, just draw attention to what they're saying and go, like the Puerto Rican garbage comment, that kind of stuff is super important. We got to take we're at the end of the show. I want to thank Boston Brian. His show is called Blunt Politics. It's on tomorrow. Check it out. Be a Patreon
Brian.
supporter. Super chat him. Take care of him. Make this his regular gig. We need him as a permanent fixture in the media landscape going forward, so we don't have a return of the Trumps in the world. Johnny Million has a live stream 2 days a week. It's Johnny Million, and I'm on all the time, including Tuesday, where I will be doing a 24-hour live stream, and I believe Boston Brian will join me at some point. I want to believe that. So yes, and Johnny Million will as well, as will Stephanie Miller and a few other people. So fingers crossed we'll have a nice big crowd for at least the parts I'm awake for. See you,
It's
see you
always
next week.
easier to get through together with friends.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right, we did it. Look at that. And I would like to congratulate Boston Brian for not saying
no swears.
No, he didn't say fuck. He didn't say bullshit. He didn't say cocksucker. He didn't say bastard. He didn't say anything. So proud of you. Johnny slips a shit out, which is, again, I think an excited utterance. So therefore, I think we're in the clear.
Usually he's scooping it out of the bin. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Chicago, and so sorry.
Thank you, Chicago.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
No
see
worries.
you next week.
You weren't expecting that one, were you? Huh?
No.
You only had your finger on the trigger when I was speaking.
That's right. Okay, and off they go. Excellent. I
appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely, and I just want to remind everybody. Hold on, let's see if they.
And thank you to the chat. I appreciate you guys very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. All right, I do have a diaper song for Trump.
Dirty diaper, I wear it proud, walking around, no time to bow. Feels so warm against my bum. I'm dropping bombs, having so much fun. Messy pants all day long. My diaper's full and I'm feeling strong. No time for party.
Someone's gonna clip that. It's gonna ruin my entire career.
Isn't that from Friday Night Lights?
No, that's right. No, it's that's an AI song I made because I was trying to make diaper songs for Trump when he would shit himself.
Is that the company that's getting
one of those jokes you hear about?
Never miss a moment. Staying on the go. When my pamper's full, my swagger's on a roll.
My pamper's full?
Yeah. I've been working on a thing tonight where where instead of doing my act tonight, I'm just gonna play music for 29 minutes. And then just create a bunch of
sway back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna
jerk off a couple of giraffes.
Yeah, exactly. So I was at one point, I was like, I gotta make some production on the songs and how can I get rights and stuff. And I was like, what am I thinking? AI.
Right, exactly.
They're all
isn't that the
royalty
company
free.
that's getting sued?
Suno? No, because again, there are all sorts of protections to make sure you're not copying people directly, and you can put in whatever lyrics you want. The problem is that people are putting in the lyrics of real songs and doing, here's Metallica if it was done by a 50s band or whatever, and they ask for 50s band and they put those lyrics in for like Injustice for All, and that's where they get in trouble. But they don't have the ability to check the lyrics and stuff like that yet, because it's just not capable of that part of it, right? Or
Pretty
saying
cool,
that,
man. Pretty cool though.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty cool. So anyway, I've got to do a few of those today and create a little montage of audio, and then.
Well, good luck tonight. Please
Thank
tell
you.
everybody I said hello. Tell Phil I said hello. I really wish I could be there. Meeting Phil last time was one of the highlights, so it was pretty cool. Not only you said Mark Hamill's going to be there,
Yeah.
Tara's going to be there, so you got all the superstars there.
Yeah,
tonight,
yeah.
so.
Adam Schiff will be there with us. He'll be on stage tonight as well.
Nice. And everybody, my love.
I will, absolutely. And I'll let you guys go. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else, and we'll see you next time.
Appreciate you, bud.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.
Hi, everybody.
Bye. There he goes.
How do I get out? Oh, this
I'll kick you out. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Much love. I think what we're going to do, and I'm not quite sure how they're setting it up, so I'm going to bring my stuff with me just in case Tara needs it to the sound check later on. And she's going to do some backstage hellos to everybody. And then I've got some prep work to do. And wait, hold on. Let me make sure my chat room is up here so I can see you guys. Hold on. And hopefully you guys will be able to check out. If you're not going to be there live, you'll be able to go to the sexyliberal.com and get the ticket to the live stream. Even if you can't watch it tonight when it's live, you can watch it any time for the next month. Obviously, you're probably going to watch it between now and the election, kind of crucial. But you can see how well we predicted. Watch it end of next week if you want. It'll be super fun. So, anyways, love you guys. Please, if you haven't already, vote, and only vote once. Fuck May Muskin or nonsense. You can only vote once. Don't try to vote more than once, and only vote if you're a legal U.S. citizen. I insist. All right. Or I'm sorry, as Don Jr. would say, I insist. So let's see, what does this button do? I'll see you guys later.